but most of all in our hearts, in the firmness of our faith toward the Lord Jesus Christ, so that no matter what we may have to go through in our lives, we'll be able to endure, we'll be able to be victorious by your grace. So we'll commit this time into your hands as we spend the first two lessons trying to understand a little bit more about secularism. I just pray that you will help us to be attentive, to take it seriously, because the world is taking us seriously in a negative way. So we want to be able to learn something about it. So I pray that you will bless our time together, be with those who are not able to be with us, so that they will also remember us and also to study the material on their own time, so that they will learn something as well. We commit this time into your hands for Jesus Christ and we pray. Amen. All right, to talk about chapter 4 in the textbook. In fact, the way we're going to do that right now is to spend nominally 2 weeks in each chapter. Because there are only 6 worldviews, we spend 12 weeks to cover 6 as an overview. And then we'll come back to spend time on each of the 10 disciplines. So in other words, we're starting out with some high level understanding of each of the 6 worldviews, and then we'll come down to the more details to get each area that is affecting us. So this is the first part of a 2-part series on secularism. Now, it's kind of like an introduction. I want to do something a little different. I've asked Ryan and Raymond to have a little skit for us. So, you guys ready?
So, what did you think of summer conference?
Excellent.
Okay. What is something that you learned from summer conference?
One thing I learned about is tithing.
Tithing. What's tithing? What's tithing?
I think it's really
Okay. So, if you made $1 million, you would give 100,000 to church.
Absolutely.
And if you made 100,000, you would give 10,000 to church.
Sure.
And if you made 10,000, you would give 1,000 to church.
I do make 10,000 a year. Let me think about that.
Okay.
All right. I hope you get the point. The sense of what you earn. Most of you don't really earn much, if anything, yet. But when you get into the workforce, hopefully one day you will. Tithing is taught in the scriptures. It's a discipline. It's also a habit. For me, in the past, it took a while to get to that point. But once I established that habit, then I continue to do it. But the point I'm really trying to make is that in this little skit, I don't know if you get the point, when the person Raymond portrays was asked this question about, if you make $1 million, would you give 100,000 to God? He said, oh yeah, of course, because he doesn't really make that much. But when it gets down to a level where he does make that much, then he has second thought. So in other words, the knowledge about tithing is definitely up here because he can talk about it, but it's not really in his heart. Let alone actually putting money into the offering box. So the reason I'm bringing this up, those of you, by the way, those of you were here, I think those of you will, of course, you already watched this skit because I asked Ryan and Raymond to perform the same skit when I preached last time on August 21st. But I think maybe the rest of you were not here. But no matter what, the point I'm trying to make is this. When it comes to understanding worldview, it's really the same thing. There are 3 things that we have to keep in mind. Remember that triangle that Jada was showing us the other time? That the top is where we see practices of a worldview. For example, the Muslims, they would pray 5 times a day, facing Mecca. That's a practice. And then underneath that, there's value. And ultimately, the bottom is based on some kind of worldview. So similarly, this skit is trying to demonstrate the same thing, I would say. We have head knowledge, which is some kind of value, but it's really based on worldview, which is what's in the heart. And ultimately, it will demonstrate itself in the action, the practice, using our hands. Got it? 3H. Head, heart, and hand. So we are going to start out by looking at what's happening with the hand, what's going on with the actions. That's our first part. And then the second part, we will now go into what's going on in the head and in the heart, the value and the worldview of that worldview. Like in this case, it's a secularism. So today we're going to focus on only the practices, what they do with the hands, so to speak. Now I hope at least some of you have read chapter 4. Who read it?
Partially.
Partially? Okay, at least partially. Gianna, hey, great.
I don't know how much I processed.
Is that why you're so tired? You read it last night?
Yeah, but that wasn't what I stayed up reading.
Okay. Did you read it?
While I was still.
All right. I still encourage you. I hate to use the word demand, but really, I would like you to read it before you come to class. But for sure, before next Sunday, please read the rest of chapter 4 because we will spend one more week on chapter 4. But today, I have hopefully a somewhat simple worksheet that will bring out the practices. Now again, we want to focus on extracting what they do because that's the focus of today's lesson. So get a worksheet. There are only 4 questions. Or 4, the first one is not even a question, but the first 3 should be very easy. You can even do word search in your PDF file.
Mommy, can I get one?
I have 10 copies, so it should take it up. Maybe what we can do is, let's see, there are 8 people. We'll just pair up in groups of 2. Maybe John and Ryan, Raymond and Robert, and so on. So, anyway, yeah, if you need a pen. Again, the first 3 you shouldn't have to spend a lot of time on. But the 4th one is very challenging in the sense that when you read the first 6 sections. Now, first of all, this chapter has 11 sections. Today we're focusing essentially on the first 6, 1 through 6. If you haven't read it, try to read it now as you go through question 4 and extract what kind of practices they have. In particular, is concerning what do they use to promote the worldview and really how do they look at us as Christians?
You can do it's in there somewhere.
Right, but the first 3 are very straightforward because you just even do a search and I even give you the let me double check. But I think I even give you the section number so you can focus on the right paragraphs. You don't have to search very hard. So go ahead and do that and we'll go over the answers. Let's try to do it in 15 minutes or so. I'm hoping that this time I won't hold you until 12:45 last time. So textbook, you guys already know what the answer is. That was good. Oh, that was in the first one. Yeah, Jonathan, can you tell us how you define, how the textbook defines secularism?
I don't know how the textbook defines it, but belief that religion should not play a role in government, education, or other public parts of society.
Okay, that's part of it. And what they actually advocate in terms of their word. I mean, in fact, just the word secular implies something.
This is it advocates for a public society free from the influence of religion.
Right. But in terms of theology or systems of government, the view. No, go ahead. In terms of the thinking about God, or
They reject
they reject religion, but Gianna,
It's not so much a belief as much as a disbelief in eternal.
the atheists, let's be blunt, more direct. They don't even believe in existence of any God. Secular, the word itself means it has to do with worldly things, so they focus on the world, material things, right? Materialism and human beings, which really we are made of some kind of material. So that's the basic definition of secularism. So let's see how much of the world has been influenced by it. The reason I focus on the colleges and universities, I'll explain that a little later. But question 2, how many of those professors claim a secularist
Law.
Well, can you quantify it? Percentage-wise? 22% or something, 22.9%. Alright, so it's, I don't know if it's a lot, but it is significant. A lot of people in the academia, they don't really believe in the existence of God. And yet they are highly educated, they are very intelligent people. But let me back one step. I know the chapter has a lot of details. When I read it, I actually read it at least twice. Because the first time I actually missed some of the details. So when you read it, the same thing will happen to you, I'm sure. My objective is to highlight the important details. Because there are a lot of details that you probably will not remember, or maybe you won't even see it the first time. So, but we do want to keep in mind some of the more important aspects of secularism. That's why I define the questions this way. All right, number 3. The thing is, well, either you are on your way to college or you are on your way to college. So what can you expect?
You're running for secularists and like all that you feel.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, the book I think says that you find very few professors who share your faith in God or in Jesus. In the truth of the Bible or in relevance of faith to culture. So, remember, God is not that one. The first one, you watch it, right? The setting was in the classroom, where the professor even asked the student to sign a paper to say that, oh, yeah, God is dead. I think that's what he asked. You remember? So, it may not be that extreme in our current environment, but what I see is that increasingly, we as Christians are being rejected by the world, based on the fact that we are not scientific, we are not logical, we're not really making sense. Okay, let's focus more on number 4. This is more point. Like I said, in each of the 5 sections, we should be able to extract some information about how they promote that worldview and how they argue against Christianity. Think about this. We see that every time there is an election. Those of you who watch, probably I did not watch it because it's not really interesting to me. But those of you who watch the presidential debate this past week, I don't know what your thoughts are. I can only guess that, because I have watched some past elections. It's just, what do you call it, mudslinging and trying to, basically, yeah, I mean, it's like, how do you win the election? Well, you tear down your opponent, you uplift yourself and try to get credit. So that's basically the strategy behind the whole thing. You can see that in a lot of other things as well. If you want to sell a product, just turn on the TV or the internet for that matter to see some kind of commercial. When they try to sell their products, what do? They have to sometimes discredit their competitors and then make themselves look good. See, we're special, we are better than them in this way. And they have deficiency in that way. So that's how you do that. And that's what secularists are doing to Christianity. First, they want to promote their worldview, and at the same time, they want to turn against Christianity. Because we are theists. We believe in the existence of God. We believe the Bible as the authority, and they say, no, that's not true. And so they have to somehow tear us down as well. So in section 4.1 then, what can you find out? Well, just in that, for that matter, any of the 5 sections, what did you guys break down? Letters, what did you break down?
The theory of evolution.
Okay, the theory of evolution, what about it in terms of establishing?
That it discredits creationism.
Okay, so they promote evolution and say that that's not in agreement with creationism. Okay, that's one aspect. Okay, what else did you write down? Give me one more thing.
Encourages materialism.
Okay, encouraging materialism, okay. By the way, which sections did you find it out? Did you write down the section? You know? Oh, that's fine. Tommy, what did you write down? Between
Secularism claims credit for the best part of the Western world while laying the blame for the worst aspects of Christianity.
okay, that's right from the book, right?
Yeah.
But how do you know that, or what did they do to, in terms of?
They wrote this like mini story on which it shows like the followers of Jesus were evil liars and
Okay, that's in the textbook, right?
yeah.
Okay. In section what? Which section?
4.2.
4.2, all right. Okay, that's part of it. They discredited Christianity, essentially. They, in essence, what you just said is both. You say that they claim credit, at the same time, they discredit Christianity. And let me point out that, okay, anyone want to add to that? I mean, from section 1 to section 2, did you guys get anything out of that? Let me draw your attention to the fact that they actually wrote they call that a people's history of the United States. It's in section 4.2. Tom, did you see it? The section 4.2 is in fact, this is what they talk about. There's a 768-page so-called history. It's essentially rewrote part of the history of the U.S. to claim credit for themselves. That's the kind of practice they are doing to promote themselves. And in terms of discrediting Christianity, let me just add to what Tommy said. Remember in the text in section 4.2, they talk about an example. Can you see an example of what they use to discredit Yeah. What is that about? Can you summarize it?
It's literally saying like Christianity is not as value, and then like the good people of Rome tries to stop them, but then the Emperor Constantine managed to establish Christianity. And then once in power, basically it's like church and state. It's like,
Right, using the power of the government to oppress other people who were not in agreement with Christianity.
and it took a few hundred years. So Europe eventually were rescued by scientists and philosophers. So basically, they challenged the church teachings on earth.
Right. And let me just add to that, they consider us as hateful bigots when it comes to things like same-sex marriage or homosexuality, things like that. And they say that we're hating them because the argument would be like, well, these two men, they love each other, they want to get married. Why do you stop them? So you're bigots, you are being hateful for them. So that's some of the arguments they use against Christians. What else do they have? There's something else that's very important. We kind of touched on that when I asked you number 2, question number 2. So maybe, Brian, what did you write down? What else that you wrote down that hasn't been covered so far?
Mass propaganda, fear-based opposition, opposition.
Okay, all right. Gianna, what else did you write down? That we haven't Okay, anyone has something else that we haven't covered? Because there are certain things that are very important for now. All right, in section 4.2, they actually are trying to lock us out from positions of influence. Like I said, question number 2 gives you a hint. People who can influence us could be professors, universities and colleges, and for that matter, in the judicial system. Even the Supreme Court, after one of the justices died last year, I forgot his name. Yes, he was a conservative, and now he was replaced by a liberal judge, and now the scale had tipped over. Before it was 5 more conservative ones versus 4 more liberal ones, and now it's the other way around. And therefore, you can expect some of the final judgments, because the Supreme Court is where the final judgment is supposed to be decided. And that means in future decisions, you can expect more and more decisions against Christian values, against biblical principles. They are going to make it harder and harder for us as Christians. So the point is that when people are allowed to be in positions of authority, positions of influence, then we can expect more and more difficult times ahead as Christians. For example, can you imagine trying to go in and say, oh, I would like to display the 10 Commandments in the school. It's not allowed anymore. Just like God is not dead too. I want to talk about Jesus in the classroom as a teacher. That can get you into trouble too. So that's, of course, we're talking about public school, right? You can talk about Jesus in Christian schools, but when it comes to the public school system, it's by and large being taken over by secularists. So what I'm really getting at is times are going to get harder for us if you want to take a stand as Christian. Okay. And then the other thing, they promote science as the basis of everything, instead of religious beliefs. In fact, they claim that science and faith cannot mix at all. Right. But as we go along, I haven't really gone that far myself, but based on what we have learned the first time around in this curriculum, we will see that even in terms of science, let's say biology, we'll find that Christianity offers the most reasonable explanation. Let's say when it comes to evolution, they rely on what we call punctuated stages of
punctuated equilibrium.
Yeah, okay, that's the right term. Punctuated equilibrium. So in other words, it's like there's some missing things, right? Well, you know, if we evolve from a certain other species, where's that middle? There should be some kind of intermediate. Because after all, the claim is that it takes a long time, many billions of years, for us to be evolved to become human beings. So there's got to be some kind of transition. Where is it from archaeological findings? Missing, right? A lot of gaps. So that's one of the arguments. Next week, when we go over the rest of this chapter, I'm going to show you a few short videos by Jim Wallace. Remember the cold case Christianity? Yeah, he's a pretty good speaker, I have to admit. And I did a search on all the podcasts he posted on his website and selected a few short ones that basically will try to poke some holes in secularism. I'll show that next Sunday. Now, finally, I want to ask you something. In your own experience as a student in the public school system, have you run into any kind of instance where Christianity is portrayed as evil, or it's just pushed aside at least, even though it's not being evil spoken of, it will still say, it's religion, Christianity is just superstitious, right? Yeah, some people will say that. So have you encountered that personally? Not yet. Anyone? Any experience that you can think of or remember? Even maybe among your fellow students, your school friends, may sometimes talk to you about Christianity in a negative way. You ever experience that? I'm actually surprised at you haven't.
They just joke around, right?
They joke around?
They don't
Okay.
actually.
Yeah. I don't mean that you are being physically assaulted or something like that. It may not be that extreme, but in any negative way, somebody joke about it. Right? But I'll tell you one thing. In my personal experience, if you are more active in preaching the gospel, you will personally experience a lot of opposition. I think over the years I've shared with some students, maybe not this group, I don't remember, but whenever I did that, then Satan, because he doesn't want people to believe in the gospel, so you can expect him to work even harder in the hearts of these people to deceive them, to come up with arguments against the gospel, and ultimately to hate me, to be hostile toward me. And I'll share with you one thing that I shared with another class. I still remember one time there was a period of time at work, I was actually somewhat active in sharing the gospel with my coworkers. I think you may remember that. But one Christmas, I got a card, for discussing my mail slot. In those days, it's old days, we did not have emails, so we relied on mail slots. Anyway, I went to pick up my mail and I got a card, a Christmas card. Oh, someone is so nice to give me a Christmas card. When I open it up, it's from must be a coworker because it's in the workplace, but the person would not reveal his name or her name. And the card on the outside has a picture of Jesus, and it says that Jesus loves you, and when you open it up, it says that everyone else thinks you are. And the A word. So that's how this person thinks of me when I am so active in sharing the gospel. So I didn't keep the card, or maybe I misplaced it, but I wish I did, because to me it's really more like a trophy. Because I was in a small way being persecuted for preaching the gospel, compared to the apostles and some of the other people who preach the gospel in the book of Acts. Find out that, man, they went through a lot more than I did. So I should not really whine and feel bad about it, withdraw myself from preaching the gospel just because of that. Because this man actually even gave up their lives for preaching the gospel. So this is really nothing compared to what they have gone through. I'm just saying that if you are more active in preaching the gospel and ethically showing your faith somehow, not in an arrogant way, not in a confrontational way, but just to demonstrate your faith. Let's say, when people use certain language, or when people do certain things and you don't participate with them, then it's already making a stand. As a Christian, you may even find some kind of ridicule, opposition, or even persecution. That's what you can expect. And yet, I think at the same time, it's really something that we should not shy away from, because it's too much. Sometimes it's too much pressure for us to just go along with other people, stay low, so that we won't be experiencing some kind of persecution. So, like in God is not dead too. Remember that statement? I thought it was interesting. The nail that sticks up his head get pounded. Remember that statement? Something that I can't really quote word for word, but basically, if you stick up your head as a Christian, see, my stance about. Yeah, that's right. Remember that statement in the movie? And basically, if you say, "Oh, I think gay marriage is wrong," or homosexuality is sin, and I think you're going to get some attention from your classmates, and maybe even from the school itself.